Askreddit asks, what used to be extra common in movies that you just don't see in movies anymore?
During the opening credits, a morning radio show plays to let you know the city and that it's a scorcher out there. As the main character slowly gets out of bed to the intro of some upbeat song. Or that it's cold outside and Groundhog Day. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
Sure is a hot one today.
I miss when something unusual happens and a hobo on the street who has witnessed it looks at his bottle of booze and then rubs his eyes.
I love these now that I'm older, like what in the fuck are you drinking, old man? I've never tripped balls on whiskey before.
Kinda similar to this, but when something happens and the bum asleep on a bench under newspaper gets woken up. Bonus points if his newspaper gets blown away by the wind.
Fruit card being hit during a car chase.
Or the two guys moving a pane of glass back and forth for seemingly no reason.
My cabbages! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark!
About a week ago I actually saw two guys carrying a giant glass pane that way. I was convinced a car was going to appear out of nowhere and kill us all.
Intercepting loved ones at the airplane gate.
No one wants to see the romantic lead get tased or shot running to the gate.
9/11 killed rom-coms, or rushing to the airport on the spur of the moment. I want the next flight to New York. Quote.
Spinning newspapers with headlines that advance the plot. Modern movies need more spinning newspapers. Edit. So it turns out this is a thing in modern superhero movies. As well as the Harry Potter and the Fantastic Beasts ones as well. Because spinning newspaper, they apparently share the same universe. A painted background. It's funny to watch those old movies like Oz or Mary Poppins and see how most of the backgrounds were just drawings.
Matte paintings. There's a whole technique behind them that's quite interesting.
You actually do see a lot of matte painting these days. It's just much harder to tell because digital compositing has gotten so much better. And I guess they're not really hand-painted anymore.
More generally speaking, the advent of cell phones has eliminated thousands of plot devices from the past. Usually involving simple misunderstandings, or missing each other by just 30 seconds, etc. I've got no bars, or battery's dead. Except shitty writing hasn't caught up. They just have the character look at the phone and it says no service or the battery is dead. And away we go on our romantic comedy ride.
Operator, give me the police. Yes, it is an emergency. It's crazy how ingrained operators were into the culture of communications. I was reading The Forever War, which was written in the 70s. And there's a part where he is describing Earth around 2024, and there's interstellar travel. Mech suits, laser guns, but the video phones still have operators.
I recently learned that 911 wasn't a thing until the late 60s and even then was local. It didn't even start to take off nationwide in the US until the 1980s. As late as 2000 there were communities that didn't have it. Dozens of henchmen in suits and sunglasses firing tiny machine guns.
Yeah, the Uzi has really lost its popularity in modern action films.
Uzis always pull me out of films. In real life they fire so fast they can dump a 32-round mag in like literally a second or two. So you see the henchman hold down the trigger for 5+ seconds and you're like, damn, that's a deep magazine. Edit. I got Mac 10 and Uzi mixed up. Those trailers that all started with the same epic, in a URL redacted, watch. V equals 6N5L0 SGPP5K, voice. Edit. Was thinking of Don LaFontaine. Who's dead now? That's sad.
Now they all just have the Inception sound BWWOMMMM.
We started a Netflix documentary series on serial killers and I didn't last 5 minutes because the narrator was reading the entire show like a Inner World trailer.
Brendan Fraser. Someone posted a link to an interview with him one time about him being out of the industry now. It's very sad to read. URL redacted. The guy is amazing. I really wish him the absolute best. Real stand-up guy.
This is the only one I've read so far which has made me sad.
Two guys carrying a giant pane of glass. Did they finally manage to install it?
I actually saw two guys carrying a big pane of glass across a parking lot recently. Not gonna lie, my first instinct was to drive straight through it.
Did you settle for a fruit stand instead?
There's always money in the banana stand.
Opening credits sequences with kick-ass theme songs. You see them every now and then. But they're nowhere near as prominent as they were before the 90s.
Kisses used to be weirdly kinda violent. Watch an old movie when the couple kisses for the first time, it's mildly uncomfortable. Relatedly, romantic, forced kissing sex used to be pretty common. Even up through movies in the 80s. I was shocked when I saw the original Blade Runner.
Yeah, try watching old James Bond movies. No means yes. Sometimes it just takes a slap to convince her.
Bloopers in the end credits.
No, you can't speak to Jackie Chan. Single quote.
I love the Pixar bloopers. Just the idea that these animated movies were being acted out was hilarious to me as a kid. And some of the bloopers were genuinely funny. I was so disappointed at the end of Finding Nemo when there weren't any outtakes.
That loud-ass THX thing at the beginning that'd make you dive behind your couch as a kid.
I remember when I was about 11 years old with a bunch of friends over. It was stormy outside, so we bundled up in the living room and popped in a DVD. The THX thing came on. There was a bright bolt of lightning outside and all the power went out right as the THX was climaxing. Truly a surreal experience.
Nothing quite like it. Brr rear r r r r r r a a a a a w w w w w w w. Edited to include the silent h at the end. English, right?
Smoking. I always wondered how many of those actors were actually smoking during filming and how many were using props. After learning what their daily schedules were like, I came to the conclusion that most were doing it for realsies.
I still see a lot of smoking in movies. It seems to be certain characters and tells a lot about the character.
Communist, Nazis as the bad guys in every movie.
What I learned from 80s, 90s movies is that Nazis are the most passionate archaeologists that ever existed. That's not fully inaccurate.
Didn't they have a thing for witchcraft or something?
Tracing phone calls, which involved one room of the house of the kidnapped victim's ransoming. Is that the right term? The person having to pay the ransom being devoted to the task. Full of technicians with boxes of electronics, listening on headphones, and if they weren't able to keep the kidnapper on the line for 1 minute, then somehow they wouldn't be able to trace the call, though sometimes they would at least pinpoint a vague area of the country the call may have originated in. I think the practice died when ubiquitous CLI made filmmakers realize everyone now knew telephones don't work that way.
Quicksand. Edit. Apparently a lot of people like to tug it to girls stuck in quicksand. Who knew?
I was terrified of quicksand as a child, thanks Johnny Quest. Closing parenthesis comma. One time we were digging clams and the sand was very sinky in one area and my feet started getting sucked under and I started screaming. Quicksand. I'm going to die. I'm only 5. Someone save me. And my parents just started laughing and didn't even try to help me. It was very traumatizing.
Quicksand is also one of those things that has a surprisingly popular fetishism associated with it.
That stupid fake sound when somebody got punched. Don't miss it.
I think Indiana Jones was the one to beat. It was the perfect fake punch sound. You knew it wasn't real. But it sounded so awesome. Little kid me watching that. Then hearing a real punch. That's weird.
Oh, and ricochet sounds with every gunfire. So funny now.
The credits at the beginning instead of the end.
Every time I watch an old movie with my 4-year-old daughter, she immediately starts telling me the movie is over. Normal teeth. Everyone has perfect white straight teeth now, no matter the era. I was watching After Hours the other night and the main character had crooked and slightly yellow teeth. It was refreshing in a way.
Yes, and normal-looking people in general. Look at TV from the 80s. People looked normal.
cops shooting at a fleeing suspect with their .38 caliber revolvers. Also, before the shooting started, they seemed to like to slink around a lot with revolvers drawn at waist level. Finger on the trigger, ready to plug the dirty rats.
I always think of this when I watch It's a Wonderful Life. During the alternate reality sequence, George is trying to escape from the police officer after punching him. The officer pulls his gun and fires after him in the middle of a crowded city street.
Action scenes that don't drag on endlessly. I mean, just watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and count how many separate action scenes there are. Compare to any modern movie.
Action scenes that don't drag on endlessly. Counterpoint. Action scenes where you can actually tell what's going on. No shaky cam. Not entirely comprised of shots less than 3 seconds long. Etc. Every man wearing a jacket and tie. At home, reading the paper while smoking a pipe.
And hats.
I think it's classy when the bad guys' henchmen come over to beat you up and they're all wearing suits and hats.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, and above all, have an excellent day, you incredible people.